Welcome to Life Esteem, a program committed to delivering information that's important to you and your community.
Hello, welcome to Life Esteem. Always great to have you as a viewer. Hey, today we're going to talk education. We have with us Dr. John Craig. Dr. Craig is there at Westchester University, but he's the president of the Pennsylvania Black Conference on Higher Education, an excellent organization that Pat and I just simply love, and so glad to have you on the show.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
All right,
Appreciate
fantastic.
being here.
So for those persons who've never heard about the Pennsylvania Black Conference on Higher Education, tell us all about it.
Sure. So the Pennsylvania Black Conference on Higher Education, or PBCOHE, or BACI, as it really is affectionately known, was founded in 1970 by the late Honorable K. Leroy Irvis, who is and was the first Black speaker of any state House of Representatives in the nation.
That's right.
You know, prior or after Reconstruction. And so he founded that organization sort of as an opportunity to ensure that at that time Black students would have an equal opportunity to higher education in the state. And so along with that, he founded several other organizations, but he wrote during his over 30-year stint in the State House of Representatives, he actually sponsored about 1,600 pieces of legislation. Wow. So he was very busy, we'll say. But the Pennsylvania Black Conference, the mission really simply is to ensure equal access and social equity for Black students, faculty, and staff of color, and other students of color, not just Black students. Everyone is welcome to join the organization, regardless of his or her hue, as long as you know, they support the mission of the organization.
Yes, indeed.
So over the years, we've done many great things. We are about to celebrate our 47th anniversary, and so I'm just very humbled and honored to serve in this role of such an influential organization.
No question about it. I have to tell you just real quick, I remember when the conference first started, I was a student at Westchester, by the way, and Larry Dowdy, who you know well and I know well, was my college roommate. And so they had I think maybe the first, I don't even know, but it was one of the first conferences right here in Harrisburg at the old Penn Harris Hotel when it was down on 3rd Street. And I remember how there was this huge debate that broke out and about, you know, which direction we should go and who should be included, not all that kind of stuff. It was exciting, man. It was electrifying, you know. And now to see it come full circle, I mean, 47 years later, and all that you're doing with not only the parent organization, but you also have a student part that we have been a part of, the Robert N. student part. So it's just been great to be a part of this fantastic organization. It really helped me get through college, quite frankly. It made me understand what college is all about.
Well, you know? it's a wonderful organization, and you know, it's funny because I've been with the organization as a professional for 15 years. So I started in 2002, but prior to that, you mentioned the Student Leadership Development Institute. I actually went as a student in 1992 and in 93 as a student, as an undergraduate student from Temple. And so, you know, what really impressed me, I think, at that particular time is I don't think up until that point I had been in the presence of so many other highly accomplished, you know, Black persons with earned doctorates, you know, and vice presidents and presidents of universities and faculty members, you know, from all around the state. I had never witnessed all that all in one. It was like too much goodness in one room. And I remember as a you know, 19-year-old undergraduate, thinking that this is a powerful organization, and so I asked to come the next year, and I did, and then I didn't really keep in touch with the organization again until I was working at the University of Pennsylvania, and asked my director if I could come to the conference, and how things are interesting in the conference. I always tell people, don't miss a meeting.
That's right.
Because you never know what you're going to be nominated to do. So it was actually ironically in in Pittsburgh actually at that year, and I said, well, you know, I won't go to those meetings because I don't really know that much. I'm just coming to the conference. I'll go to the big meeting later. So when I come down to dinner, people are congratulating me. And I'm like, congratulations for what?
Yeah.
You know, my son was already a year old, so I'm not sure why they were congratulating me. And later on, someone said, well, you know, you were nominated to be Eastern Region Director. So I always tell people, I went as just a first-time member, and I came back leading, you know, a third of the organization. So yeah, it's a great organization, and I absolutely love what I do.
Well, tell us how large outreach do you have in regard to colleges and universities that actually participate and are part of you?
So that's a great question. So we, as you said earlier, we have the student conference, which happens every fall, but we also have the annual conference, which happens this time of the year. And I would say between both of those outreach efforts, we touch many, I can't even name a number, but I believe we touch probably every last one of them over the last 47 years. I know that we have, and consistently every year. So at the annual conference, we'll have about 20 or 30 universities and colleges represented. At the student conference, it's even more than that. Oh yeah. So yeah, we reach community colleges, four-year institutions, nonprofit, for-profit. We reach the whole gamut that really send their students and their professionals, you know, to the organization.
You know, when you think about Penn State alone, I mean, they have so many branch campuses. So, you know, we say, you know, 20, 30 campuses, but no, Penn State alone brings you about maybe 10 to 15.
That's true.
You know,
that is very true.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. And then a lot of the students who have gone this way, and professionals, and that's another thing, you know, jumping back for a minute, you said the organization was founded by Dr. Irvis to, you know, and it was student focused. Yes. But the truth of the matter is that he touched a lot of professionals and was able to open up a lot of doors for people like through the Act 101 program and others. So a lot of African American and people of color who are now on these campuses would have never made it on these campuses had it not been for his efforts and this organization. Really opened up a lot of doors.
No, that's a very good point. You mentioned Act 101. Obviously, as you know, as a former state director of Act 101, he wrote the legislation in 1971 along with other legislators that enacted Act 101. And through that effort, there were many professionals who had entree into universities and colleges all around the state who really would not have been considered previously. And so that particular initiative was something that is even still happening today. So it started off with about 33 Act 101 programs. When I was counseling coordinator for Act 101 in the mid to late 90s at Lincoln University, we were up to 75. That's right, But now we're back down to like 32, 33. And I actually direct the Act 101 office at Westchester.
Oh, beautiful.
And so it's a wonderful organization, a wonderful initiative that he did. But a lot of people also don't know that he wrote the legislation that enacted the Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency, because you can get students to college, but how are they going to pay?
There you go.
And so he wrote that. But also another, as we talk about Mr. Irvis, another fact of his legacy is that he wrote the legislation that enacted the community college system in Pennsylvania as well.
Unbelievable.
So a lot of things he did.
And then so he's like the spirit over top of this major organization. And then you know you have other heroes like a Robert Lynch.
Yes, absolutely.
And even locally here, you know, right now, Barbara Thompson has been so integral in terms of the operations and pulling together that student part, you know. And she's right down here at Penn State Harrisburg, right?
Yes, she is. And she called me last week, I guess, and she told me that she was retiring in June. And so, you know, but we begged her to stay on and help with this SLDI before, you know, we can find someone else. But I mean, those are people, if we go through the organization, I mean, there's so many to name, like you and your wife certainly have been with the organization for many, many years. And so, you know, other people like Dr. Judith Thomas and Richard Arnold and, you know, Dr. Brenda Day. If I get to name names, they're going to, I'll leave somebody out now.
Well, you have to mention Terrell Jones, Dr. Terrell Jones.
And Terrell, you know, I served under Dr. Jones as his vice president for the organization the first time that I was president. So this is actually my second time being president.
Right.
Yeah, I thought so.
In 2010, I was elected president, but prior to that, I was the vice president, and I served under Terrell. And under his tutelage and leadership, I learned many things. He was just an awesome man, a great man. In Penn State, definitely there's a void there.
Oh, yeah.
He was the vice provost for education equity, and his sense of humor was amazing. So yeah, we definitely miss him, and we're just trying to carry the torch of those of our ancestors who have really paved the way. As I say to younger people in this particular generation, that you have to be willing to work, and you have to be willing to sacrifice. Many of the advances that we have didn't come because someone gave them to us. We had to work hard, and we had to sit in, and we had to fight and pray, and and write. And read and educate ourselves. And so that's what we're about. We really want to ensure that this generation of scholars has the support, which is why one of the great things that we do every year, and I revealed this on a call, an executive council call about a week ago, that one of my favorite segments of our annual conference is the scholarship luncheon that we do.
That's nice.
People don't realize it, but that really is my favorite. We do a lot of things and we help a lot of people, but when we can actually give that young person and those young people, because we give about anywhere between 8 and 12 scholarships a year in $1,000 increments that we give to these young people, that really that blesses me to be able to be a blessing to those young people. And we don't give it to the school so that the school reconfigures their financial aid. We actually cut the check in the name of the student.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, so that they can actually, purchase what they need.
Absolutely, sure. And that's so important.
Well, what do you see in the next years, 5, 10 years, for the organization? I mean, do you have a strategic plan? Do you have some thoughts of where you want to move?
I do, and I'll just be honest with you, and I know this is not a political statement, but I will say this, that, seeing over the last week and a half the way in which this administration is moving, it means that our organization will be quite busy. To be quite frank with you, here's what really surprises me and what really is disappointing. When you look at states and their support for public education, Pennsylvania ranks number 49 out of 50 states. For their support of public education. So now, I'm not a brilliant man, I have a little sense, but I would say that if you really are saying that you want to graduate the top, scholars in their respective fields, how can you do that if you don't support those state institutions and those state-funded institutions? So we've got to do better. We've got to do better not just in the higher ed arena. We've got to do better as a state in public basic education. Because we have a whole organizations like the Pennsylvania Black Conference won't exist if we don't graduate our young people from high school.
That's right. Absolutely.
And so what I see as a challenge over the next few years, and our strategic plan is quite simple. We want to help ensure that the retention efforts are there. We want to make sure that a recruitment obviously is there. We want to make sure that students are supported, both financially and just emotionally, and we can support them financially all they want, but if they don't feel like they're a part of the campus, if they feel isolated, they don't have anywhere to go, then it's really going to, what we've done basically is for naught. So we want to make sure that we as an organization have ambassadors on campuses where students can go if they have issues or concerns and so forth. Excellent. So one of the things that we do is we make sure that we have a great relationship with president's offices, with vice president's offices on these various campuses so that our voices are heard. So I would say that that's part of what we wish to do. We need to be viable. We need to ensure that that we have a voice, which is why we have a really strong relationship with legislators in the state.
Wonderful. I got to say this real quick, and then I want you to talk about the conferences that are coming up, because we have one coming up very soon and then one in the fall.
Yes.
Excuse my voice. Excuse me. But there's a young lady from Harrisburg who graduated from Susquehanna Township, and I'm not going to be able to call her name right now. I know it's like Emmy, but anyhow, she is now the first African-American female to be the head of the Harvard Law Review.
Yes.
And the only other African-American to ever hold that position, by the way, was Barack Obama.
Yes.
So this young lady who graduated from Susquehanna Township in 2009, I believe, is now, graduated from college. She's in Harvard Law School and is heading up a very prestigious organization. And again, the only other person of color to hold that prestigious position.
From Pennsylvania.
From Pennsylvania.
Yes.
She's from Pennsylvania. But the other person was Barack Obama. Isn't that something?
That's
Come on
amazing.
now. So hats off to her. Congratulations.
Yes,
and that's the kind of nurturing that your organization has done for years. And let me also say, while I've got this quick little commercial break here, it all starts with the family. And so one of the things we've been doing here in the Harrisburg area and throughout the country really is trying to get more men to step up and be an integral part of their families. And so to that end, I want to tell you about the Fathers Together program at the Hamilton Health Center. You know that the Hamilton Health Center is a fantastic organization here in Harrisburg doing wonderful things in terms of health. And part of being the healthy start is to have a healthy family. So the Fathers Together program meets and it's a free program, by the way. It meets on Wednesday evenings from 5 to 7 at the Hamilton Health Center off of 17th Street. And you can register, yourself as for men by calling area code 717-909-1278. Again, that's 909-1278. We need to get men out there. We need to get men involved. And it all starts in the family, and then it takes off into education, and that's what this is all about. Each one teach one, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about this wonderful conference coming up
Sure.
for PBCOHE.
Yeah, so the annual conference, as we've said, it happens every winter, actually. And this year will be February the 23rd through the 25th in Monroeville, Pennsylvania, which is right outside of Pittsburgh. Each year the conference rotates from region to region.
Yeah.
This year the West will be hosting us, the Western region, and we have a wonderful, wonderful program. We're looking at the whole issue of inclusion and whether or not this whole issue of inclusion is the new affirmative action.
Yeah.
So our workshops that we have planned sort of tackle that topic. And so we just wonder are we including ourselves out of affirmative action? And so it's something that we're really thinking about. And so as we've said, we have several universities and colleges that will be represented. We have several great speakers. And so if anyone is interested in participating, they can just go right to our website, PBCOHE.com. To get any information that they wish. Okay,
good. Again, that's PBCOHE.com.
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay, it's easy enough, folks.
Yep.
And we hope that folks will turn out. You always have a great turnout, educators coming from all over, but it's really open to anybody, right?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, we have an annual scholarship awards banquet where we a few years ago, we actually expanded our scholarships because we give scholarships mostly to undergraduate students, and we give one for a graduate student. But about 5 or 6 years ago, we developed the scholarship after one of my mentors, Dr. Judith Thomas, retired from Lincoln University. We actually have a scholarship that we give to high school students in her name. So we award anywhere between 1 and 3 scholarships, $1,000 scholarships to students. But I also want to say that we have an international presence in the organization.
Yes, you do. Yes.
And for the last several years, we have supported the Zabilla School, the Zabilla Secondary School to be specific, which is in northern Ghana. And we send them $1,000 every year, and that $1,000, here $1,000 doesn't do much. It does, but it doesn't.
But it does,
Not when it comes to tuition.
That's right.
Well, in Ghana, because of the exchange rate, the $1,000 in U.S. that we support them with will pay the tuition for 60 students for 1 year.
Wow.
Yes. So 60 students can attend the Zabilla School, secondary school, for 1 year based on that $1,000 scholarship that we gave.
I love that idea. I wasn't aware of that, quite frankly, but something tells me the Dr. Georgia Bongo
Yes.
has something to do with that.
There's a little something to do with it. Yes.
He's in Bloomsburg, right?
Yes, so Dr. Bongo is a former president of the organization, and he is a full professor of political science at Bloomsburg University.
you just gave our church. Our church is the Imani African Christian Church, and we're always looking for things to do. And we love that international tie, of course, to to Africa and helping as we do to our community here. So that might be something we can partner with you guys on. Is that we could also maybe give $1,000 a year.
That would be great.
Another 60 students get in.
So 120 students being able to attend that school would be amazing.
Fantastic.
And they send a letter every year thanking us for the donation. And it's, first of all, we feel a very strong tie to Africa. And so what we try to do, we've been trying for the last few years. We haven't quite gotten it yet since 2001, but we're trying to actually have a pilgrimage back to Africa.
Yo, that'd be great.
Yeah, we're trying to plan that, and so stay tuned.
I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, and I know Dr. Bongo could help you with that.
Yes, yes.
We also have the wonderful Dr. Alfreda Johnson, who is here in Harrisburg area, and she goes every year, at least a couple times a year, I believe, to Ghana. Yeah, and she has been a long-time educator in our area, so we're proud of her as well. So anyhow, but this is great. So then also in the fall, tell us more about the one that's coming up.
So yeah, so we have the Student Leadership Development Institute, and that's the one that I came to. We're celebrating. We just celebrated the 30th, which you all were there, in Harrisburg. But this one will be the 31st one, and I'm going to date myself, but I went to the Student Leadership Development Institute, which is named after the first director, Mr. Bob Lynch, who was from Lockhaven University. And I went to it when it was 6 years old.
Go ahead.
So that wasn't yesterday, but
a couple of years ago.
It was a couple of years ago. But I was an undergraduate student from Temple University, and I went and I enjoyed myself. It was a wonderful opportunity to see so many influential people of color who sort of mentored me and so forth. But so that happens in, I believe it's going to be the first weekend of November this year.
Fantastic.
And it will be in this area as well.
It will be again.
Sheraton Harrisburg Hershey.
Excellent, excellent. We had a great time this past year.
Yes.
Big turnout, the whole bit. I have to mention also Chris Franklin, that a lot of our viewers know. He's the centerpiece of the Harlem Globetrotters. He's an ambassador for them, goes all over the country. But he's the guy in all over the world, but he's the guy that's in the middle passing the ball, and he's just fantastic. But he was an ACT 101 student, and he remembers coming to, I don't know if he's an ACT 101 student, but he remembers coming to the conference.
Okay.
Because I actually spoke at one of his camps, and he said, well, here's how I know you, Reverend Gass. And he started talking about, he was in my class. I was like, get out of here. So he's a fantastic guy, but he's right here from here, and so many people are passed away. I was just sitting there thinking of names like John Shropshire.
Yes,
Mr.
Shropshire,
and so many others that, just bring up that, just made this organization what it is, So people who want to get in touch with you, they just should go to the website and all the information is there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they can just go right to PBCOHE.com, and a picture of me is there. Well, I have to change this because it has me hit with hair. And I haven't had hair now for about 4 years. So we've got to get that updated in some way.
Well, let's go back to the leadership conference. I'm sure the same thing with the Black Conference on Higher Ed. It's the quality of the speakers that you bring in. It's just, as a presenter, myself, is how much that is just impressive and educational for me.
Sure.
To hear about a lot of the background and a lot of the folks that you bring in. How do you decide? How do your executive committee gets together and starts searching and determining who these folks are going to be?
Well, that's a great question, and here's what I would say. We have a planning committee, which is Barbara Thompson, as you mentioned earlier, from Penn State Harrisburg. She is the director for the SLDI, but then she has people who work with her to do the planning. And so every year they really just kind of put this amazing program together. I don't know how they do it. I don't ask any questions.
That's right.
I just show up and do what I'm supposed to do. But no, so they look and they get, suggestions and recommendations on people. They've had over the years, they've had people from the Department of Justice. They've had, a young lady who was wrongly accused.
Yeah, we heard this is great.
So we have a number of very good, speakers who really connect well, with the students.
Absolutely.
And this year we had the largest. Last year we had the largest turnout ever.
Yes.
We had over 300 students. So it was just amazing. So we're just looking for greater.
What I liked also was not just that you had that many more students, but you had the electricity in the room.
Yes.
And the students were well dressed, well behaved, purposeful.
Absolutely.
They knew what it was all about.
Very professional.
And I go back to Dr. Lynch and how he would insist that those of us who were in the professional professional positions would come in with the suits and the ties and purport ourselves in a certain way. And so he set a tone, and you guys have maintained that so beautifully.
You know, he did. It's interesting because I didn't really know Mr. Lynch that well.
Okay.
But when I first stepped into the role of the president in 2010, he actually came to the conference that year, and it was in Philadelphia, and at the Lowe's Hotel. And here's another name that you know, Irv Wright.
Oh, yeah.
Irv Wright had driven him to the conference, and I remember at a reception, I said, you know what, I need to go over and say hello to Mr. Lynch because I never get a chance to do it. And so I went over, and I didn't know he knew me.
Oh, wow.
He said, John, I'm very proud of you. I'm so proud. You know, congratulations that you're president. You bring a lot to the table. And I was just floored that he knew who I was. And it was really about a month or two after seeing him and engaging with him that he actually transcended. He went on to be with the Lord after that. But he was just a wonderful man, always had a smile on his face.
He did.
But he demanded excellence at that conference every year. He did it every year.
A quick little story. I was standing out in the hallway with him, and I believe Larry Dowdy and a couple other people. So we're all standing there talking, and this conference is going on. The young man is standing up speaking, and he's basically blasting the conference and this and that, and saying we should be doing more. You know how people do.
Sure.
And so he's saying on our campus, and he kept saying on our campus, and it turned out to be he was from what was it, Lock Haven, right?
Yes.
And guess what? He was one of the students that Dr. Lynch had brought to the conference.
Oh boy!
And he was just going on and on. And so this guy came and said, "Dr. Lynch, you might want to come in here. This guy's kind of..." But I mean, as students, that's what you do. You don't know how things work, and so you just kind of going on and on about what's not. So anyhow, Dr. Lynch goes in. He was very, very kind, and he was just listening to the young man. And then he said, "Well, I just want to respond to that." And he got up, and just the way he set that tone, and he didn't blast the guy, but he really kind of put him in his place. And at the same time, he said, "Let's talk about what it really takes." And then he pretty much challenged that young man. Okay, heard you, right? So now it's time for you to step up. Because you said all that. So now it's time for you to step up and get involved and do what needs to be done. And to that guy's credit, he did exactly that. And I remember even in my little workshop, there were guys grumbling. And that's back when the, the whole hip hop thing was really jumping off. And there was a lot of anger and stuff. But guys begin to get it because they brought in all this. The question is, so what are you going to do?
Yes.
You know, and it challenged them to do something. And that's one thing I like about when I mentioned Chris Franklin from the Harlem Globetrotters. He made that comment to me. He said, "Hey, man," he said, that thing was uplifting. So here he is now. We run out of time, and we can keep this thing going, man. This is exciting. But it's the Pennsylvania Black Conference on Higher Education.com.
Yes.
Okay, so PBCOHE.com. Go to that website. You want to get to the conference, and you want to get involved. If your young person's in college, or you are in college, you want to be a part of this organization because that's what it's really all about. Thank you so much for coming all the way up from Westchester.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. Yes, indeed. And we hope to get you on again.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching this program. As always, we love bringing great